Salve. In this video we're going to learn about first conjugation verbs and how to deal with them in the present tense. First of all, let's talk about conjugations a bit. We learned before that a declension is a group of nouns that follow the same rules. A conjugation is a group of verbs that follow the same rules. Latin has 4 conjugations plus a handful of irregular verbs that don't belong to any conjugation. First conjugation is one of the simplest conjugations, which is why we learn it first. So, when you're introduced to a verb in Latin, you'll see the different principal parts of that verb. Principal parts are the basic forms of a verb that we use to make all other forms of that verb. We have principal parts in English too. For example, the principal parts of the verb go are go, went, and gone. We can use those to form other tenses and say things like I go to school, he went to school, or we have gone to school. If we have the principal parts and know how to make the necessary changes, we can produce any form of the verb we want. The same is true in Latin. Here we have the 4 principal parts of portare, which means to carry. The first principal part is a present tense form, more on that in a moment. The second is called the infinitive, which is the form of a verb that means to do whatever that verb is. So portare means to carry. Some other examples would be laborare, which means to work, and ambulare, which means to walk. For first conjugation verbs, the infinitive will always end with are. When we get to other conjugations, the infinitive will have a slightly different ending, and that's how you'll tell them apart. The third principal part is used primarily to form past tense, which we'll learn later in the year. And the fourth is used primarily for passive voice, which is when you're saying something has been done. We won't learn how to use those for a while, but you'll see them when we learn new vocabulary words. So now we're going to learn how to use the first 2 principal parts to form present tense. Verbs can change in number, meaning singular or plural, and they can also change in person, which tells us who is performing the action. We have first person, which in English means I or we, second person, which means you, and third person, which means he, she, or it in the singular, and they in the plural. So English uses pronouns such as I, you, or she to indicate person and number. Latin instead uses endings that are added to the verb. The verb endings for present tense are o, s, t, mus, tis, and nt. So for example, if a verb ends with o, it'll be translated, I am doing whatever that verb means. So, to form present tense, here's what we'll do. The first principal part of the verb is the first person singular present tense form. So whatever we have there will automatically go down here. We don't need to change anything about it. For the rest of the forms, we'll take the infinitive and drop the re. This gives us our stem, porta in this case. Then we'll add on the verb endings to that stem. So we'll get portas, portat, portamus, portatis, and portant. We have a few options for how to translate each form into English. Porto can mean I carry, I am carrying, or I do carry. Choose whichever one makes the most sense in the context of what you're translating. So portas can mean you carry, you are carrying, or you do carry. Portat means he carries, she carries, he is carrying, she is carrying, he does carry, or she does carry. It could also be it carries or it is carrying if that makes sense in the context. Portamus can mean we carry, we are carrying, or we do carry. Portatis can mean you carry, you are carrying, or you do carry. We are in the Carolinas, so if you prefer to go with y'all for second person plural, that's fine with me. And lastly, we have portant, which will mean they carry, they are carrying, or they do carry. And remember, we also talked about the infinitive form, portare, which means to carry. All right, let's practice a few now. Here, we have our endings for present tense. So let's say we want to say, He is standing in Latin. Here are the principal parts of the verb to stand. I'll provide them, but you can always look them up in a dictionary if you need the principal parts of any Latin verb. So we take the infinitive, drop the RE to get the stem, which would be sta, and add the third person singular ending, which is a T, and the result is stat. Next one, we dance. Here are the principal parts of the verb to dance. Again, we take the infinitive, drop the RE to get the stem, and add the first person plural ending, and we get saltamus. All right, one more. I am singing. Here are the principal parts of the verb. Now this one's easy. Remember, the first principal part is the first person singular present tense form. So the answer is already there for us if we just know where to look. It's canto. Okay, so that is it for first conjugation present tense. Let me know if you have any questions. Wale.